of the launch of the book Introducing Your Own Perfection. A year ago, I had the privilege of receiving the manuscript for this book. And when I read it, my first impression was that maybe it's a PhD, a thesis that Akash has asked me to read. But I thought I haven't even got a PhD, so it can't be that. And as I was reading further, I actually realized it's a PhD of a PhD. PhD standing for philosophy, Hinduism, and Dharma. Dharma meaning the right thing to do. And as I'm reading the book, I'm thinking, gosh, this book must have been written by somebody who's in their 60s or 70s with a world of experience. And then I looked again, and it's Akash Sky, who's only 38. Now, the amount of time it takes to write a book. I've written five books on Ayurveda, so I know how much time it takes to read, reread, read all the other books on the subject to see then what is your take, what's your USP. And then once you've done all that, collated it, then you send it out to people to read. Then you get the amendments, you rewrite, and then you send it off to publishers. If you're lucky, a publisher will take your book. Most people self-publish because it's less costly and it's the easier route. But Akash took the more difficult route of getting a publisher. And so we are really privileged that we have a book which is available in lots of bookshops. And it's on special offer today. It's only £16.99, but it's only £15. If you think about it, when you go to somebody's house, you might take a bottle of wine or a box of chocolates or some flowers, great for a day or two. But how about giving a present which is going to make a difference to them straight away and for a lifetime? And perhaps all the different people it may have an impact on too. So the book is about what? It's as it's described there, it's about your inner being. How to be more peaceful, how can you be more forgiving, how can you have a better understanding of life, and perhaps more important than anything else, it's about your health. So the book actually is about your inner health and how do you improve it. Fascinating book, highly recommended, and I would recommend that you buy the book downstairs, take a picture of you holding the book and putting on your Instagram or on your Facebook with the hashtag, which is Akash Sky Dr. Awakening, if I remember. Yes, is that right? Got it? Akash Sky dot awakening. Why? Because we've got to be advertising this sort of books, sort of publicizing, getting people to read these sort of books, especially when it's the next generation who have written it. These are the people who are going to take the baton that we're holding at the moment. Also, we are very privileged. We have another young guy, Jordan, only 23. He's a talented spiritual author and life coach. And these sort of youngsters are making a real difference. And we really want them to succeed so that they make an impact, not just to people who are sitting here, but the world at large. And if you saw Akash on one of these pods, he was being interviewed. I think it's an American program. I don't know whether you saw it. It's fascinating that some of the things, the insights that this young man has picked up, just amazing. So we have the privilege today. Please, a round of applause now for Akash and our gentleman by the name of Jordan. Please, they come along.
We've got a mic here. One there as well.
Yep.
Jordan, have a seat.
Thank you.
I just firstly wanted just to say a huge thank you to everyone here for coming, because this is an honour to have so many loved ones here who are there for us. And I really respect and appreciate that all of you are here today. This book, Introducing You to Your Own Perfection, it was never really intended to be written. It's a book that kind of had to come out. And we'll talk about how it came out and and all of the circumstances that life was bringing at that moment. But it's a very, very intimate subject. It's a romance with yourself. Self-realization, enlightenment, it comes to all of us. It's the purpose of life. It's why we're here. And what does it give to us? It gives us unconditional love. It gives us peace that is just beyond anything you can ever imagine. And the joy of life is just always around you. So what we're going to do for this is we are going to, for this discussion today, so we've got about an hour. Jordan has got lots of questions for me. It's going to be interactive with the audience as well. And we're going to leave our egos at the door, actually. And we're going to invite the Holy Mind to be with us. And that Holy Mind, it's got so many names for it. Course in Miracles calls it the Holy Spirit. It also calls it the voice of God. What I like about it is it also calls it the memory of what we are. So it's not something to attain. It's a memory of actually what we are. You could call it Vaheguru. You could call it the awakened mind, the universal mind. Typical spirituality now, modern age, calls it the higher self. So we're going to be inviting only that to this discussion because it sits in every one of us. And it will dictate the flow of the conversation. We haven't really scripted it, have we? Haven't rehearsed it. So we will see what comes out today for that. And yeah, let's start, Jordan.
No worries. I also just want to say, obviously, thank you for taking your time to come today. You could have been doing something else, maybe having a drink or a glass of wine or something like that, but you all came here today. And so I just want to thank you for that. Also, thank you to the Holy Spirit for coming through us today. And I hope the Holy Spirit will be present in the room as we sort of converse and bring out our greatest qualities. So let's get started. What triggered you on the path of self-realization? Because of course, the book is really, really sort of interesting and integrated. And no one could really write a book of that quality unless they had a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain level of consciousness. So what got you to that point, and why do we need self-realization? Why is it important in our life?
So for me, my trigger was actually when I lost my dad. I was 30 years old, just got married to my wife, Priti, in April, and he passed away in September, same year. And basically what it is it was extreme suffering, okay. Right? That extreme suffering is just you get frustrated with yourself. What is happening? I remember looking at his lifeless body at the hospital, and there's so many questions being asked, right? Questions like, what is death? What is life? Why are we here? Why does everyone go? What's God? But these were frustrating questions. Like why am I asking this now? Down the road, so down the road. Right. And the answer came in a form of a question.
Okay.
And it came from a place that was completely unwavered, flawless, unlimited, constant. And it just popped into the mind. And the question was, who am I?
Okay.
And that question was the driver every single morning, every single bit at night. That question drove me. So many things happening in the day, all the time. But that question has to be answered, you know, because there's that realization that image of dad, that's going to happen to me. I need to answer this question, right? It's the driver. It should really be for all of us, but we get so busy out into the external activities that we never think we're going to die, do we? We never think we're going to go.
And it can just happen like that.
It can, can't
Yeah.
it? It can. And so you just forget it. What's the second part of the question? Was it?
Oh, why do we need to be self-realized? I mean, what
Oh,
good
my
would it be Bob
goodness.
the Builder, for example?
So, look, everyone knows what the soul is. We all grew up on it. You know, I grew up on what the soul was, and what spirit is. But I still suffered. You know, we all suffer. You know, there's so much pain out there. You know, this is about shifting our vigilance in our mind from a fear-based thought system to a love-based thought system. Okay, this is about, when I first started, my vigilance in my mind was 100% focused on the individual self-personality. That is called, what do we call it?
You'll have to tell me, son.
We call it the ego. Call it the ego.
Yeah.
The ego, self, personality. Okay. The person we think we are, the body mind. Yeah? And I'll say it even more clearer. Mine's called Akash. Yeah.
What would you say when you saw your father? What would you say, what position was your ego in at that time?
I would say at that time it was fully ego, self-centered.
And what does that look like to someone who is maybe within that and they don't realize it?
Basically, you really only really believe that you are this person, this self-image, right? And it's extremely frightening if you think about it, because this self-image is changing all the time. Yeah? This mind is changing all the time, this body is changing all the time, and it's extremely, extremely frightening. And what we do is we build up our defenses, like a better lifestyle, to try to protect us from the fear of this, the fear of that, because if we believe our self-image can be taken away from us.
Or like damaged, maybe?
Exactly, because it's weak.
Yeah.
It's weak. It's not immortal, right? It comes and goes like the clouds, you know?
We're always changing.
Yeah, we're always changing, aren't we? My vigilance in my mind was always around the person. If my person was insulted, I would be the first one to defend it, right? If someone talks about my religion, I'll be the first one to defend it. Right? It's the mind telling me to do that. If someone was to talk about my nationality, I would be the first one to defend it. My race, first one to defend it. My gender, first one to defend it. My age range,
Are
my
those
career.
like all components of the ego?
Correct.
Okay.
That's it.
Right.
So these are all the body mind. But I had zero vigilance in the mind for that which is really us, the awareness of everything. Right?
So we're talking about like the higher power, or the high self.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Which is what we are. And that's why, now I knew about the soul, we all know about it, but I wasn't keeping it in the mind. I wasn't consciously living through that, right? Throughout my day. There's no acceptance of what I am, no surrender, no completeness kept in my mind, right?
So is it as though you had all these ideas, but perhaps you never like practiced them, or?
I think for me it's probably, I mean most people, it's ignorance.
Ignorance. Okay.
That ignorance of, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go into self-realization, because once you do that, you don't want to be this body mind.
And you have to face a lot of qualities of yourself that.
You go deep within yourself. It's like a river, isn't it? It's like body, mind, Akash, it's like this river being contained with the banks. Right? And these banks are just our self-personality, our limits. And self-realization is like that. You just go into the ocean. There's absolutely there's no borders, there's no boundaries, there's no self, there's no Akash. Free, just absolutely free, you know?
Yes.
It's that. And, you just get overwhelmed with the such a beautiful subject. That's us.
Is that like what someone like me could expect to get out of the book? Like, let's say maybe I've never read spiritual material before, or maybe a friend of mine sent me a copy of the book. As a newbie coming in, can I expect to come to the realizations that maybe you have?
So this book, it Introducing to Imperfection, it walks us through this journey, right? And I'm very honest. I'm very honest, sometimes brutal with the ego.
Right.
Like I love to be, because it's there to make us finite, but we are not finite. We need the voice of God, that strength of God to walk us through that, right? And to show us we are not finite, we are infinite. We are an unlimited possibility being, multi-dimensional being, And that's why for me it's very honest, and it's life is very normal on the outside though.
Oh, yes.
Oh my goodness.
I know you're a very busy man. You have
You know,
wife, kids.
I've got 2 kids, very little, 1 and 3 years old.
I mean, how do you write a book? Like managing, I know you're a job 5 days a week. Like
That's right.
how do you even write a book during that period of time?
So it was lockdown. It was UK lockdown. And I had so much information in my mind from all the books. And obviously I've studied A Course in Miracles, which is a pure non-dualistic spirituality, and experienced life with that. And it was actually my child, she was a toddler at the time, a 3-year-old, she was 1.5, and my wife was pregnant, actually, with baby number 2. And they were having nap times regularly, And I just had so much information in me, I had to get the information down. And it was them moments I was like, I've got to get this down. I've got to get this down. I've got to write it down, And I'd write it down. And it was really just for me. It was just for me to just get it down on paper and say.
You didn't actually intend it to be a book.
No way.
Really?
No way. This was a book. I think it was really a book for me.
Right. Okay. Therapeutic in a way.
A book to me where I can always know what I am.
Right. Okay.
The way I would want to know it. And I'm a normal person, just like everyone else. You've got the householder life, right, which is cooking, cleaning, washing, gardening. I love gardening, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got, that married. Most people are married, and they have partners. And then I've got the little children, and then I've got the career like everyone else. I'm in busy London life, city London. It's busy, it's fast-paced. I don't really have time to go to a cave and meditate, which is what traditionally we talk about when we think about self-realization. We think of that, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We think of getting away from the world. Actually, this is the opposite. This is living in the world, using the world and the things around us in order to realize the self. It's incredible,
I remember in the ACIM, which we're going to be getting into soon, it does reference using the world as a tool to understand aspects of yourself. Yeah.
A Course in Miracles is a universal spiritual practice, isn't it? It's dictated to us, dictated by Jesus Christ. Comes from an author called Helen Schuckman. It's made of 3 parts. It's made up of the workbook lessons, 365 workbook lessons. The one rule is you just do 1 lesson a day.
Just 1 lesson a day?
Yeah, that's the rule. That's the
It's
only
a small
rule.
ask. I could do that.
And then there's the text,
Right.
and then there's the manual for teachers, and you know that text. I know so many people that I meet who studied it, and they don't get it.
They don't?
So many. I've got a friend who's been studying for 40 years.
40 years.
She's been studying for 40 years.
I'm not even 40 years old.
40 years, you know.
That's a long time.
I think it's when you're meant to have it, you have it. When you really want it,
Yes.
the university paves that path for you to have the knowledge the way that you're supposed to receive that knowledge.
Yeah.
And for me, it was A Course in Miracles. It's a
So
blockbuster spiritual practice. It's pure non-dualistic spirituality, which basically says there is only one reality. The one reality is God reality. The other reality is a dream.
a dream.
It's a dream.
I know many people might have problems with that idea.
It's a dream. I mean, even in traditional Hinduism, we know that. We know the dream. It's a dream. You know, it's that dream-like.
I know there's some Hinduistic aspects in your book. Trying to remember the name. Was it Guruji?
Yes, so Guruji.
Could you? I would love to hear that, because it's. I know your book's of course inspired by ACIM, but you also have your own ethnicity as a part of it as well. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, so Guruji is the avatar of Lord Shiva.
What's an
Hinduism's-
avatar?
Avatar is the reincarnation.
Reincarnation.
So reincarnation, he's the reincarnation of Lord Shiva. Okay.
Okay, right.
And he was here physically, I think 55 years old. He had a 55 years life. He left his body in 2007.
This is Guruji, just so I'm clear.
What's that?
This is Guruji.
Guruji.
Right,
Right,
okay.
Guruji,
Right,
yeah. So and Guruji has a global sangat. A sangat is a following. He was born in Durgi, Punjab, which is a state. Punjab is a state in India, and he has no identity, no body mind, right? He was here to deliver mankind from all suffering, and he does that. My goodness, he does that. He's done that. We've got in that community the Sangha.
The Sangha, yes. Yeah.
They have countless satsangs, which are like, it's like accounts of how he has healed the body. You know, he heals the sick. He gives people jobs when they have no money. You know, he knows the mind. He knows what's in the mind. It's omnipresent. Right? He's truly self-realized individual here. We're talking about the manifestation of the Holy Spirit, like Jesus.
Like, yeah, I was going to ask.
Like
is
Jesus
that
does
like
miracles, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He cured the blind,
Yes, yeah.
right? And
Water into wine,
he raised from the dead.
Yeah.
That's why we do Easter, right? The resurrection. So Guruji is that as well. And for me, being a Punjabi, being Hindu, like not me, Akash.
Now we're getting into the schematics.
Akash, the self-personality, is a Hindu, right? And he's Punjabi.
Would that
And
be
so-
your ego, just to be clear?
Yes,
Right,
it's the
okay.
ego.
Following.
And
yeah.
so it's really easy to connect to that entity that's coming out as a Punjabi, as an elderly figure. I lost my dad, so that elderly figure. But this elderly figure won't go. This elderly figure sits with you for always and connect them. And at the end, it merges into the Holy Father, which is your Father, which is our Creator. So you always have that to lean on. No matter what's changing, always changing.
So would it almost be like your guide, in a sense?
So basically, that's Guruji. But we have different forms here, such as Jesus, the Buddha, Prophet Muhammad, Guru Nanak. These are all different manifestations of what sits underneath it, which is the Holy
The Holy
Spirit.
Spirit, yeah, I see.
The awakened mind, the voice of God, the universal mind that connects all of us together. They're manifestations of that, really. They can't be the pictures and the images, because that's limited. So what they are is they're omnipresent within a spirit, a mind that is everywhere at once, in time and outside of space-time, all at once. It's incredible. And so you can choose the symbol you like, but you would, because it's your character. Your character will like a certain one if it's part of a religion. Or I've got a friend on Facebook who actually, his is a mountain.
A mountain?
His is a
All
mountain.
things.
His is a mountain, and it's something you think of, and he lives around there, and that is him being with the Holy Spirit, in oneness with it. It's incredible.
So are we, is it necessary that we have to have Jesus or Guruji, or are you saying that we can build our own relationship with what seems to be like the higher power, God, for example?
That's right. So we choose the one that we want to choose with, that works for us. It's deeply personal, but takes you out of personality.
Yes, it does.
It comes in as personal, as personality. But actually what it is, and what it teaches you, is to go out of the personality, to go out of the self.
To go out of the ego.
Exactly, out of the body-mind.
But what will I become if I go out of the ego? Will I fly into space? What's going to happen? What does it feel like to be self-realized or enlightened? Because obviously that is the main topic of your book.
It's peace all the time.
Peace.
Yeah. It's peace all the time. There's so much happening outside. My kids outside, they're having tantrums. You've got your career, got your bosses. The body's always changing. Sickness comes and goes. All these things are happening. But when you know what you are, and once you've built the relationship with that part of you that always remains and never changes, you're done. You made it. It's never going to change.
Is there a method, a technique that someone uses? Is it how do we approach something so abstract?
So for me, it's surrender.
Surrender.
I surrender to Guruji, Jesus, higher self, every morning. I serve. The body mind's given over. Akash is given over. What would you have me do? What would you have me say? Where would you have me go? Freedom. It's like a bird.
Jesus, take the
bird.
wheel.
Honestly, the bird. It's like a bird with wings. You're so free. You have no fear of death. It's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
Out of the mind. Yeah, so free.
I mean, it really is mind-blowing.
And it's that surrender that you give, which is tricky at the start. Yeah, because you think when I give this over, or when I hand it over, or the idea of it over, you feel like you can't do that. It's too much to ask for. It's frightening. It's a bit like a child. My little one. If I took his rattle away from him, I would hear it. I would hear it. Right? Yeah. When he puts a battery and tries to put a battery in his mouth from the remote, right? What do?
Freak out.
It's because he wants it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He wants it, but it's not the best for him, is it? It's not. It's going to cause some problem, or it's going to limit his experience of life in that way. It's kind of like that. Like the ego, the personhood, is limiting us in every single way. Right? There to just cause pain, suffering. If we identify with it, and don't forget, we can identify it with all different levels. If we identify it with when we really believe that I am Akash, right? I'm going to do this my way, right? How much do we suffer? We suffer so much, don't we? Yeah? But our mind isn't free. It's lost. It's lost in what Jesus would call oblivion. Oblivion, what's that? It's nowhere. It's nowhere. It doesn't exist. It's all in your mind, as they say. Right? So, yeah.
I remember talking to you, and we were talking about you were using the techniques in the A Course in Miracle book, because obviously you said there are many lessons. I would love to hear how you've experienced utilizing the tools that you describe in your book, maybe in the workplace or at home. How did you have a little mini self-transformation?
You know, I had such a busy life. The book, The Course in Miracles, came to me, and the way I learnt it was just the most strangest way anyone could learn it. So when it came to me, first I didn't tell my wife, I didn't tell anyone that I was studying A Course in Miracles. Okay, I didn't want to call the alarm bells. I just found it interesting because I was not lost. I was lost. Yeah, I was lost. I wanted to find me. What am I?
Who am I? Yeah. Right.
And I had the text, and there's 365 workbook lessons, and I was actually told to read every single one on the train to work. So I had 45 minutes. And then when I went into work, Holy Spirit, Guruji, Jesus, whatever you want to call that, would orchestrate the day in order to teach me this lesson. Every day, right? We're talking 2 years.
2 years.
2 years. The first year was all about the workbook lessons. Second year was all about the text. As in, it's teaching you what it means. I can give you an example. So, workbook lesson 34. I can see peace instead of this. Yeah.
That's beautiful in itself.
So it's called that. And I'd read the workbook lesson on the train, go into work, and Guruji, Jesus, whatever you want to call it, would orchestrate in front of you the lesson, right? So what that would mean is, I remember on that day, I was dragged into a meeting, and I was blamed for everything. Oh my God, right? So they was just like, oh, Akash, your numbers are wrong. Gosh, why did you share them numbers? All sorts of stuff, right? All being orchestrated. Obviously, my life is surrendered, right? To that which is greater. So that is greater, firstly gives you the tools to deal with the problem, but it also puts you into positions, right, to heal the mind.
What would be the tool in this scenario?
It would be holy forgiveness.
Holy forgiveness, okay.
Of Course in Miracles calls it the miracle.
The miracle.
The miracle. Yeah, we can go into that.
Of course,
right?
I'd love to.
But the holy forgiveness is really what it is.
Okay.
Right? And so what happens is as they are blaming me, shouting at me, I am remembering my workbook lesson, which is I can see peace instead of this. Right? So it's the lesson being taught to me by the guru, by the teacher, by our inner guru. Yeah? And it would be me forgiving and releasing this now. Thanking the people in front of me for bringing out unconscious guilt, unconscious pain, right? Because I've projected it outwards onto them so that I could quite conveniently blame them. But really, once you go deeper into the mind, you know that you've projected this onto them. You're seeing, you have a problem with your perception. Your perception is pain here, right? And the perception needs to be corrected, right? And so I move into forgiveness straight away. And in my mind I say, you're innocent, whole and spirit, all is forgiven, all is released. I'm innocent, whole and spirit, all is forgiven, all is released.
You're saying this in your
mind? In my mind, very fast, as they're shouting at me, right?
Yeah.
Right? The separation from God never happened, and we're all in perfect oneness with our Creator eternally, right? And it was incredible. What came out my mouth after was, it was so financial, because the questions were financial, but so technical, right? To answer what they were asking me. Again, it's surrendered life, so you don't think about much, right? It's about being, not thinking, yeah? And so it comes out, it's so technical, it's so accurate. And I remember at the end of it, a couple of them walked back with me to get a coffee, and one of them apologized, so gentle. What happens is Jesus, the higher self, this holy mind, it just gives you a happier dream. Yeah? It's an incentive. You give this to me, you give this problem to me, right? I will heal your mind, right, is what it says. And all you need to do is give it to me, and I'll give you a happier dream.
Right, yeah.
And it was happy. They bought me a coffee after. They bought me a coffee, and it was gentle. It's gentle.
Right.
They're very friendly afterwards. After just shouting at me, that was one particular lesson. But I mean, I was doing that for a couple of years. That's how I learned the course.
Wow.
On the train.
And experiential.
On the train, and in the experience of everything. That's the way I was taught it. And we all, you studied A Course in Miracles, haven't you, as well?
Yeah.
So for you, what was yours different?
Yes, mine was a little different. Obviously, some people who attend the Course in Miracles are here today. Mel, Nick, hello. Hi, guys. Yeah, we were all in a little group, and there was one particular day that I would always remember. We went into our standard meditation, and Jesus, or that force, the Holy Spirit, the high self, came into my body. And from that time, I was suddenly elated, laughing, giggling, looking at everyone, couldn't stop myself. I remember when my eyes were closed in the meditation, Jesus was riding a llama, don't know why, and that just brought me to tears of laughter. I was watching my dad, who's here today as well, trying to understand the course, and that made me laugh even more, as though you're watching like a young person trying to comprehend some really complicated algebra. And coming from a place of experience where I'm experiencing it through Jesus the Christ, it really put me in a different position. So that was one of my personal experiences. But I did want to say, I don't know if you guys have any questions for Akash, because I mean, Akash, you're speaking from such a high level. I'm not too sure if we're all there, and I was curious if anyone had any questions for Akash, if you're confused about anything.
Which chapter in the book means the most to you?
I would say chapter 2, self-inquiry.
Of course, that makes sense. Expand. I'm interested. Expand.
Self-inquiry is what we all need. We need to inquire and be skeptical about the way we think. Always asking questions. Why do we do this? Why is that done like that? It's that way, that inquiring mind, that gets us to that borderless, eternal place, right? And self-inquiry, for me, was actually done through Advaita Vedanta, from the Upanishads.
What is Advaita Vedanta?
Advaita Vedanta is a wisdom tech. It's wisdom. It's actually a pure non-dualistic spirituality. It believes the same way of thinking as A Course in Miracles. You could say it's more Eastern. A Course in Miracles is more Western. Right. Advaita Vedanta looks and it calls the one reality, which is true. It calls it Brahman. Right. Brahman is the one reality that exists, and the other is a dream as well. So it's the same way of thinking, but it's just a completely different way of self-realization as well.
So would the Brahman be equivalent to God or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be it would be what A Course in Miracles would call the child of God, oneness with the Creator.
The child of God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So self-inquiry. I mean, we could do self-inquiry as well. We should do that. We should go through as with the audience and self-inquiry. We should introduce everyone to their perfection today.
That'd be amazing. I don't know how to start though. I mean, when do you start
Okay.
with that?
So there's something called the five koshas. And this is from the Upanishads, and in particular, there's something called the Taittiriya Upanishads. Okay, and in the Taittiriya Upanishads, there are the five koshas, the five layers that sit outside of what we are, what we truly are.
Outside of what we truly are.
Yes, they sit outside of what we really are, which is inside. They
Okay.
layer outside. Okay.
Like a Russian doll.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. So let's go into this. We can do this all together. Okay. So the most outer layer is called Annamaya. Okay. Annamaya is the body sheath. It's a sheath, 5 sheaths, 5 layers. It's the body sheath. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to critically analyze every layer. And we're going to prove right now that we are not that layer. Okay? So on the outside is the body, made up of flesh, bones, feces, skin. Okay? As you go into that, there are some very disturbing reasons why we are not the body. Okay? Firstly, the body is changing all the time. Okay? And what I am is never changing. Okay? The body used to be a newborn. It used to be a toddler, adolescence, and goes into adult and elderly. It's the body always moving. But I'm never changing. What I am doesn't move like that. Right? Secondly, with the body is something that is known. I am the knower of what is known.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I know the body's there. The body doesn't know that I'm here. Yeah? That's what we're talking about. And the body is something we are conscious of. The body's not conscious of me. Okay?
Which would be the
So
difference.
like your foot, your hands, they're not conscious of what you are. They don't know what you are. But you know what they are. Right? Finally, what Advaita Vedanta says about this is, obviously it talks about linear time, so it talks about karma. We must, in order for us to suffer, it says, in order for us to be happy, we must have done something in the past in order to have them results now. So we must have had another body, right?
Another body?
Another body before.
Before this life?
Before this life, in order to experience it now, the effects of that. Karma, cause and effect, right? And so if there are different bodies, and I am unchanging, a body is something I can have. It's not something I am. Right? So that's the body. Who still thinks they're Annamaya? Who thinks they're the body? Any questions? Is there a question? Can you see?
No,
Can't
not
see.
quite.
I don't know if there is.
There's one.
There's one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I appreciate your comparing different religions and finding commonality there. But one of the experiences I have is people have their faiths and religions and hold on true to them. So how do you reconcile between talking about different bodies and reincarnation, all of that, which is very much Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, with the Abrahamic religions that you made reference to, like Christianity and Islam, which would not accept that? How do you reconcile that?
So I think it's not really about reconciling it. I think it's about it's about knowing that you are beyond this body.
But let's take the Bible, for example. I mean, if you're saying that you had another body, you had another life, that's not what you find in the Bible. The Bible wouldn't make reference to it. So, how do you explain that?
Well, I mean that's in that text, isn't it? That's what it's a belief. It's a belief, isn't it?
So that's the question. So
Yeah.
you're talking about your own faith, that, Hinduism, but then you're making reference to other faiths and other religions. So what I'm trying to do is understand how do you bring those very different schools of thoughts together?
Yeah.
Say this is the right way of going.
Yeah.
Jesus, for example, he wouldn't have talked about reincarnation. It's not mentioned in the Bible. It's
Mm.
certainly not mentioned in other Abrahamic texts.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're talking to other people, you'd end up with a fight.
Mm.
So I just want to try and understand how you're coming together with
Yeah.
other faiths.
Yeah. So we are talking Jesus from a standpoint of A Course in Miracles. Okay, A Course in Miracles is not Christianity. Yeah? So A Course in Miracles is a universal spiritual practice of which Jesus dictates to Helen Schuckman, who's the author, what the truth is. Okay? And I mean, that's the first distinction. A Course in Miracles is not Christianity. A Course in Miracles is not a religion. Okay? Jesus doesn't belong to a particular religion. What he represents is that eternal, holy part of all of us. So that's the distinction here. It's not religion. Right?
Let's say I was a Christian,
Yes.
and maybe I'm thoroughly enthralled by the Christian doctrine. And you come up to me and you teach me about these things. And maybe I get a little bit offended. I think, no, this is not what the Bible teaches. How would you help, even if I ended up